The story begins in Japan, where more than 200,000 powerful ninjas exist. To the outside world, they look just like ordinary people, but in reality, they live extremely dangerous lives. Suzuki is a low-ranked ninja who hides among normal people while working as a magazine editor. One day, out of nowhere, she receives a message. Without wasting time, she quickly says goodbye to her writer and heads toward a bridge. When she arrives, she sees a Russian man standing there, a man known for hunting ninjas. This is the very man Suzuki has been assigned to kill. The Russian suddenly fires a shot at her, but Suzuki dodges and counters with a strike from her heel, which transforms into two sharp blades. The man barely manages to avoid the attack and keeps firing his gun at her. Suzuki flips away, throwing ninja stars in his direction, and then kicks him hard across his chest from behind. But the Russian still doesn't stop. Even Suzuki's electric staff has no effect on him. He grabs her and slams her down onto the ground. From a distance, another ninja has been silently watching everything unfold. His name is KTO, a high-ranking ninja. Just as the Russian aims his gun at Suzuki to finish her off, a toothpick suddenly pierces into his arm. Startled, the Russian turns his head to see a young man charging toward him. This ninja's name is Kuro. With effortless skill, Kuro defeats the Russian, finally choking him out and ending the fight. Kuro looks at Suzuki and says calmly, "I'm leaving now. You take care of the rest." Suzuki is shocked. What kind of man is this? Why would he let someone else take the credit? To this, Kuro simply replies, "I don't need all that. I'm going home to sleep." Kuro was a skilled ninja, but at the same time, extremely lazy. Quietly, he walked away from the scene. Right now, he lived in an old, cheap house. Bored and alone, he spent his time blowing air through toothpicks, practicing to make them into deadly darts. Suddenly, without making a sound, someone entered his room. It was his senior, KTO, who had come to give him a mission. After World War II, a group of rogue ninjas had formed a dangerous organization known as the Underground Ninjas. According to intelligence, they had infiltrated and taken control of John High School. The school itself was built on a very peculiar site, once the ruins of the old Nitano Military Academy, a place still hiding many secrets from wartime. Kuro's mission was to go undercover and uncover their plan. To help him, KTO gave him a special suit. With this suit, he could turn invisible, but only on the surface. While Kuro was fooling around, testing the suit for fun, he suddenly heard a voice from the bathroom. It was his friend who was inside, calling out for toilet paper. The roll was placed far away from her reach. She shouted at him, "If you dare look at me, I'll beat you senseless, got it?" Respecting her words, Kuro climbed onto the wall, carefully moving above her without looking down, and reached the toilet paper. But in the end, as he turned around to hand it to her, he accidentally glanced her way. For that mistake, he received a sandal right across his face. The next morning, Kuro arrived at Jute High School. When he found out he had to pass an entrance exam just to get in, he panicked. For a moment, he thought about quitting the mission entirely. But then the thought of KTO's wrath scared him straight. Now, all he could think about was how he would pass this exam. With his tired yet strangely handsome face, Kuro soon caught the attention of Noguchi, a student who was repeating the exam. After entering the classroom, Kuro walked quietly around, eyes down, then took a seat next to Noguchi. He was convinced the organization had already arranged for someone from their side to sit near him. On the floor, they had arranged colorful rice grains in the shape of answers. As soon as Kuro began writing his responses, Noguchi screamed loudly. She thought the rice grains scattered across the ground were actually some kind of bugs. The teacher said, "If you've got a problem, then clean them up yourself." But Kuro knew he had to do something quickly. He dropped his eraser, bent down to pick it up, and at the same time skillfully loaded a paper ball into a straw. With one quick puff, he shot it at Noguchi. The moment it hit her, she screamed, "Somebody just touched me." Then she called the teacher an old pervert, but the teacher calmly replied, "Kid, my arms aren't that long, you know." While they argued, Kuro quietly began filling out one answer sheet after another. But before he could even get to the math test, the teacher walked over to calm Noguchi down, stepping on the rice grains in the process and scattering them. Now out of options, Kuro resorted to acting. Sitting right there in his seat, he pretended to wet himself. He started crying, saying, "I was so nervous about the exam that I accidentally drank too much water." The teacher sighed, calmed him down and said, "Relax. This exam is only a formality. Even if you hand in a blank sheet, you'll still pass, okay?" Since Kuro wanted information about the school, on his way out he decided to wait for Noguchi. The two of them walked home together. When they reached his house first, he invited her, saying, "Come visit my poor little home sometime." Noguchi hesitated for a moment, then agreed. They went up to his rooftop where they talked. Noguchi mentioned that there were some mischievous students in their class, and they might try to bother him. She told him about her friend Ida, who had been bullied so badly that he stopped coming to class altogether. She also revealed that beneath the school lay secret tunnels connected to a special military base from World War II. Hearing this, Kuro understood the underground ninja group was most likely after that very base. As the sun began to set, Noguchi said she needed to go home, but suddenly, She slipped from the rooftop and fell. Before she could hit the ground, Kuro leapt after her, catching her midair. The safety feature of his suit activated, transforming into a cushion as they landed. Noguchi screamed, then fainted with her mouth still open. Kuro quietly carried her home. That same night, a sleazy boy was trying to fly his drone near the bathroom of Kuro's neighbor and friend, Kawato. But what he didn't know was that Kuro, invisible in his special suit, was already sitting there, waiting. With his electric staff, Kuro zapped the boy. It turned out this boy was none other than Noguchi's friend, Ida. Kuro made him apologize to Kawato, and the next day dragged him to school saying, "Don't be scared, I'll protect you, but it's gonna cost you 500 a day." The moment they arrived at school, the bullies went after Ida again. But this time, they picked the wrong day, because Kuro was there. He locked Ida's leg with his own and forced him to kick one of the bullies hard. The boy yelped in pain and started hopping around. Ida couldn't even understand what had just happened, while Kuro slipped to the back row and sat down. He hadn't even brought a book, so the girl sitting beside him, Sato, shared hers with him. Seeing this, Noguchi glared at him with jealous eyes. Just then, a red light appeared on Kuro's face. It was a laser beam, in fact the ninja's secret signal for communicating with each other. Without saying a word, Kuro stood up and walked out of the classroom. On the rooftop stood a boy named Shion, a high-ranking ninja. He was the same one who had witnessed the day Kuro took down the Russian man. That day he was there as well, but before he could jump into the fight, Kuro stepped in between. Just like Kuro, he too was an undercover ninja at the school, assigned to uncover who among them belonged to the underground ninja group. Along with the two of them, there was yet another ninja living in disguise. Right now, he was acting as the school's discipline director. After class, he told Kuro to meet him in the boiler room, and then vanished. At that very moment, Kuro noticed Ida had gotten himself into trouble again. Activating his suit, he made the upper half of his body vanish and wore a box over his head before stepping in. One of the bullies kicked at him, trying to figure out who he was. Instead, the boy fell flat on the ground. Kuro quickly took control of the situation. He beat the bully at his own game, then slipped behind Ida and grabbed his arms. Using Ida's own fists, Kuro landed a powerful punch on another boy. That way, in school, the credit would go to Ida, not him. Afterward, Kuro made his way to the boiler room to meet the director, but suddenly, the director pulled a sword from behind and attacked. Both of them mistook each other for members of the underground ninja group. Kuro countered every strike with sharp precision. When he realized the director wasn't part of the underground ninjas, he warned him, "Stand back. Our satellite already has you locked. If I want, I could erase you in 1 second." The director didn't believe him. To him, Kuro was nothing more than a low-class ninja, someone who couldn't possibly have access to satellites. But then, a beam from above cut through the sky. The satellite fired a laser, slicing the director's sword clean in half. Shocked, the director finally understood that Kuro was not someone to be trifled with. Kuro walked out of the boiler room, leaving him stunned. As soon as he stepped outside, he saw Mitsuki, the most popular girl in his class, waiting for him. She looked at Kuro, smiled strangely, and without saying a word, walked away. At a nearby store, right after a customer walked out, the sensor door slid open on its own and then shut again. It was as if something invisible had entered. Within moments, items began falling off the shelves. The woman working inside fought back. She too was a ninja, but the invisible figure overpowered her and killed her. Suzuki soon received a message. Her mentor, who was also a ninja, had been murdered. Before she could react, Suzuki herself was attacked. She immediately realized this had to be someone from the underground ninja group. Only they possessed a suit capable of turning a person completely invisible. Her own suit could only make someone half invisible. Meanwhile, as Sato was walking home from school, the same man ambushed her. Suzuki warned him not to harm ordinary people. To this, the man replied, "Your death isn't written here. It's written at Kodan High School." Elsewhere, Noguchi sat in her room, lost in thoughts of Kuro. For days, she hadn't been able to get him out of her mind. She even dreamed of living a happy life with him. But then, in the middle of the night, Kuro was suddenly there, sitting quietly at her bedside, staring at her. He told her that a ninja working at the store had been killed, and he feared the underground ninja gang was planning a major attack. "A brutal fight is about to erupt at our school," he warned. Then he added, "Don't come to school for the next few days, okay?" Without another word, Kuro leapt out the window and disappeared into the night. Next, we see a man running frantically, as though his life is being hunted down. Suddenly, a ninja star whirled after him, piercing straight into his leg. The man collapsed in pain. This man was Saruta, once a member of Kuro's team, Nin. But he had abandoned the group. The invisible assassin chasing him stepped forward and asked if he wanted to join the underground ninjas. Saruta agreed instantly, grinning. "I love killing people. Just tell me the target." It was then revealed that the invisible ninja who had been killing off others was Saruta himself. The next morning, as a student was on his way to school, Saruta struck. With one swift move, he decapitated him and carried off the body. Meanwhile, despite Kuro's warning, Noguchi went searching for him at school. The director spotted her and asked what was wrong. Flustered, Noguchi blurted everything out, how Kuro had told her the school was about to be destroyed. The director understood immediately that battle was near. He gave Noguchi a ring and said, "Take this to Kuro. Find him. It's very important." A little while later, Saruta walked into the classroom carrying that student's body. No one could see him yet, but suddenly, the headless body dropped right in the middle of everyone. The entire class panicked, and Saruta began taking out one student after another. A few managed to escape the room, but Saruta was still chasing them. Soon, Suzuki and Shion received the news that one of the underground ninjas was wreaking havoc inside the school. Suzuki witnessed the bloodshed with her own eyes. She pulled out her staff, and the killer stripped off his invisibility suit, even removing his mask. Saruta looked at her and said, "Do you recognize me? Back when we studied here, I wanted you more than anything, but you mocked my love and ran away." Fueled with anger and hatred, Saruta held nothing back. The two clashed dangerously, strike after strike. Suzuki was skilled, so she quickly gained the upper hand, but she didn't notice one thing. The suit Saruta wore could absorb electric attacks. That's why her staff had absolutely no effect. As Suzuki began to falter, suddenly a man burst in through the glass window. It was Kido, the high-ranking ninja. Saruta knew very well that standing against him was nearly impossible. Without hesitation, he slipped his mask back on and vanished. But Kido didn't care. With lightning speed, he slashed his own arm and flung his blood toward Saruta, marking his suit so his invisible body would be exposed. Kido then struck with his sword, but Saruta's advanced suit expanded like a balloon, shielding him. Seizing the chance, Saruta fled. Meanwhile, Noguchi was still searching for Kuro. In the corridor, she ran into a panicked Eda. He told her, "Kuro and I, along with another boy, went into the tunnels. There's a rumor that one of the paths leads to an underground bunker. That other boy and I didn't have the courage to go further, but now I'm scared for Kuro." Deep inside, Kuro spotted a girl. It was Mitsuki, the mastermind behind the entire plan. She was far more powerful than Kuro had imagined. He hurled a bomb at her, but in the blink of an eye, she was clinging to a wall with just one finger. Kuro threw 2 high-voltage cables at her, but she caught them with her bare hands, as if electricity had no effect on her at all. Back in the school, Saruta was roaming the halls when suddenly Shion confronted him. Shion raised his sword and attacked with incredible speed. Cleverly, he scattered broken glass on the floor, which gave away Saruta's position. On top of that, Shion's teddy bear managed to pinpoint his location. Shion pinned Saruta against a wall. In just moments, a satellite strike was going to obliterate him, but at the last second, Saruta slipped away. Shion chased him and finally caught him on the rooftop. With fierce strikes, Shion attacked Saruta relentlessly, but when he struck, he only cut through Saruta's empty suit because Saruta had snuck behind him. Suddenly, Saruta attacked from behind. Shion tried to defend himself, but his sword shattered into 2 pieces. Though Shion was the better fighter, the underground ninja's weapons were far more advanced. In the battle, Shion's shoulder was struck with a devastating blow. Now injured and shaken, Shion had no choice left but to defend himself with just half of his broken sword. He was about to lose when suddenly Kido arrived and turned the tables. Kido drove his blade straight through Saruta's body, ending the fight once and for all, saving Shion's life at the very last moment. Meanwhile, deep underground, Kuro was losing his battle. He already understood that defeating Mitsuki was nearly impossible. She was far too powerful for him. But still, Kuro wanted to know the truth. What did Mitsuki really want? Why was she doing all this? Mitsuki finally revealed everything. She had deliberately spread false rumors to lure every ninja into the school, forcing them to activate the laser satellite so she could trace its exact location. Using hacked data, her team had already discovered where the satellite was, and one of their men had reached it by now. Their special suits could even function in outer space. Then Mitsuki launched a brutal attack on Kuro. Her immense strength pushed him into constant defense, forcing him to block strike after strike. But in reality, Kuro wasn't fighting to win. He was stalling for time, praying his friends would arrive before it was too late. At that very moment, Noguchi appeared with Ada. She handed Kuro the ring that the discipline director had told her to deliver. Kuro slipped it on and activated the antenna. Instantly, a drone carrying a blade descended into the chamber. Kuro grabbed the weapon, kicked dust into Mitsuki's face, and seized the opening to strike. Once again, the two clashed head-on in a ferocious showdown. But Kuro quickly realized that going at Mitsuki directly was a mistake. She was too powerful. The only way to take her down was through deception, catching her off guard with a sudden, unpredictable strike. His invisibility suit was useless here, since it only cloaked his upper body, leaving him vulnerable. Even with the suit activated, Mitsuki could still see him. Kuro ran countless scenarios in his head, imagining how the fight might play out if he tried one strategy or another. But every time, in his mind, he ended up dead. Finally, he understood. There was no way to win like this. He had only one path left if he wanted to defeat Mitsuki. With a reckless surge of will, Kuro launched a direct assault, pouring everything into his strike. He didn't care if it cost him his life. His blade pierced straight through Mitsuki's body at the same time her sword drove into his. With a desperate push, Kuro shoved her back and tore his sword free. Mitsuki collapsed on the spot. Kuro, already at his limit, staggered and fell, wounded beyond measure. Noguchi rushed to him, lifted him up, and the two struggled to escape. Meanwhile, one of the underground ninja operatives had infiltrated the satellite and uploaded a deadly virus into its system. In seconds, the entire laser network was under their control. As he twisted the dial, the power level surged to maximum. The satellite's target locked onto the school. When the beam fired, its radius expanded and obliterated the entire campus in a massive explosion. The shockwave rattled the underground bunker. Cracks ripped through the walls, debris rained down, and the exit was still far away. Noguchi and Kuro fought to get out, but Kuro was badly injured. He realized there was no chance for him to survive. In his final act, Kuro removed his invisibility suit and threw it over Noguchi. The moment after, the ceiling collapsed, and the falling wreckage buried them both. Minutes later, Noguchi crawled out alive. The special suit had shielded her, but Kuro had sacrificed his life to save the world. Yet, in the film's final moments, we see Kuro's twin brother, Juro, arriving mysteriously to meet Noguchi. His reasons remain unknown. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.